right, welcome again, everyone, to another edition of the BIS podcast, broadcasting live on the Marvin Network, where our goal is to bring you updates in local government, technology, and to mix in a little bit of fun as well. On today's episode, we'll be going over leadership, and to discuss that topic today, we have one of our, you could say, so-called newer members of the BIS team. He's been here for almost close to a year now, and that is Gary Melendez. Gary, good to have you on, sir. First time on the podcast, and just awesome to have you stop by, sir.
Yeah, appreciate it. First time caller, first time listener too. So
first time caller, first time listener. Well, we love those here on the BIS podcast. Again, Gary, I know you're a busy man, and we want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to be along with us. So, Gary, just kind of jumping right into it a little bit. First off, before we get into the topic of leadership today, Gary, I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself and what is your role here at BIS?
Yeah, thanks for asking there, Josh. I was born and raised in the great state of Texas, more so in the greater Houston area. I grew up in the greater Houston area, Katy, Sugar Land area. Then went to school there. Started work in that area as well, and then I migrated further north in 2000 to Dallas, where I started consulting for companies in the continental U.S., Canada, and Mexico, where I have over 2 decades of experience specializing with finance and operations, which gives me my role now with BIS, which is Director of Operations.
All right, Gary. So you've definitely been kind of around a little bit. So what have you learned as a leader and as your role as the director of operations here at BIS? What have you learned as a leader so far here in the company?
So first off, I had to really dive into and tie back into several interpersonal skills as a leader for BIS. Because again, it's the way things were set up here, going into an area that we didn't have tons of operations and financial support. So had to tie into that in order to lead. Because I found out a little bit later on, it's not having the information kind of put yourself in that little area of like, what do I do next? So what really helped me out is self-awareness. Being able to, before leading others, you just got to understand your own strengths and weaknesses and values. That was just tying back in that interpersonal skills. So the first kind of thought process of it is make sure you lead yourself first, is what I've learned first off from being a leader at BIS. Also, too, everyone here has something to teach you. I've learned that no matter what department you're in, where you're at in the building or in the field with people, there's so much more you can learn from all of our partners. So, and then also too, again, having the non-operation and finance stuff set up for BIS is having the strategy for what we're going here is make sure that it's a constant evolution, because our strategy isn't just a one-time event. It's more of a continuous process of refinement. Just making sure that we're staying agile and adapt, taking feedback and in amongst all of our changing conditions that we have.
And Gary, what steps have you taken with being a leader at BIS, as you say, and when it comes to being a leader in position in whatever company you're in, you want to make that position flow as much as you can or make it as efficient as you can in leading that role. So how have you made your position here at BIS more efficient?
First off is getting processes, optimization for our processes, standardizing our SOPs, or more so here at BIS was creating and refining our standing operating procedures, which are SOPs, to reduce variable and improve consistency, and also to tying into just the mentality of lean methodologies.
When you talk about those mythologies, Gary, what are those mythologies?
So yeah, if you haven't heard of it, Lean or Sigma Six principles are designed to help eliminate waste and streamline workflows. Lean methodology, it was actually a methodology that was originated by Toyota back in the mid 20th century. It focused on maximizing customers' values while minimizing waste. The core idea is to create more value for our customers with fewer resources by optimizing processes and elimination non-value added activities. Lean principles that have been since adopted by various sectors, including healthcare and software development. And Sigma 6 is basically having 6 different principles that kind of mirror the lean methodology. The 6 different principles are improving customer satisfaction. Basically, what we want to do here is have the ultimate goal is to deliver business values as defined by our customer. Also, process focus, emphasizing the importance of understanding and improving our processes. And also to removing variations from processes, basically aiming to minimize variable to enhance our quality. Fourth is also to involve and equip people, engaging and training individuals involved in our processes. Also, two, to make our decisions systematic based off of data, utilizing data to drive decisions and improvements. And also for number 6, one of the last ones, part of the Sigma 6 is to aim for continuous improvement, basically just fostering an environment of ongoing enhancement. So that pretty much sums up the lean methodologies tying into lean and Sigma 6. So a couple other things that I to help make me more efficient was also to data-driven decision making, which we kind of touched on before. Cross-function collaboration, making sure that we're meeting with every department to make sure we're all marching to the same beat, and also to working on delegation and empowerment, making sure that clear roles are defined with our team members so they understand the responsibility to reduce any kind of overlap or confusion. And I know we talked about it earlier on part of the Sigma 6 is aim for continual improvement. And that still follows in the Kaizen mentality. Kaizen is basically it's just a Japanese word that it's 2 words put together, Kai meaning change and Zen meaning good. So it's tying in small, multiple changes that make a big difference. And that's what Brandon Lewis and Bria is actually doing right now to help with operations is going through each one of our departments, looking at all the KPIs that's tied to each person's job roles and trying to make that a lot better and streamline it. Basically following that 80-20 rule. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that at all, Josh, but the 80-20 rule just follows the idea that 80% of our outcome are actually driven by 20% of contributing factors. So basically leaning on that 20 that moves the 80.
And it's really cool, Gary, when you talk about these different principles, methodologies, concepts, or whatever you would like to call them, and how we try to kind of structure BIS. So we've been doing this over the last year now and defining leadership roles with everybody and for people to kind of take control of their role. And really good, as Gary just mentioned, all these principles that he just talked about, things that you can follow, not in only your career, but also your daily life as well. And so, Gary, when you talk about all these principles and concepts, and going back now to what BIS does, what in your mindset helps with those principles and concepts and correlates to why BIS, or what in your opinion separates BIS from the rest of the field?
Oh, great question. I've kind of summed it up into probably 4 different topics. It's just BIS has a strong company culture. Okay, 17 years of culture within our sector has really set us apart. We are very customer centric approach. So again, having our clients, our customers first mind to make sure that we're really falling to what their needs are. And on top of that is the innovation and adaptability. Our common goal is to stay ahead of the market trends with continuous innovation. So we're always redefining our products, also to making sure that they're best for our clients, and then they're reliable and sustainable. Again, just the adaptability to all the market changes. And lastly, the leadership and vision of BIS. Again, we have great founders and leaders for BIS that really sets us apart from our competitors.
Awesome, Gary. Well, we're just about out of time here on today's episode, and we've enjoyed so much talking to you, Gary. The last question I have for you today is that what leadership advice can you give that has helped you benefit in your career that you would like to pass along for others? They're kind of maybe in the startup of their career, middle. What has kind of benefited you in that leadership role, and what advice could you give that could benefit somebody else out there listening?
Most part, I probably lead with clarity and purpose. Again, I've really found out people actually perform better when they understand the why behind their work. So you basically want to just set clear expectations and line your team around a shared vision. Also, empowering people, don't micromanage. I learned this the hard way. I wish I didn't, but I learned that being a micromanager is probably not the best way to guide your team. But again, more so, you need to empower your teammates and people that you work with, because then you just need to trust your team to make decisions. Give them the tools and more so the authority and the support that they need, because empowerment builds ownership, accountability, and innovation. I would also say stay curious and open-minded. Some of your best leaders are actually learners, and that's something I've had to fall back on time and time again, is making sure that we don't always know, even though you're a leader, you don't really always know the answers to the questions, and you can learn, like we mentioned earlier, you can learn from a lot of different people, a lot of different environments. So again, always just ask questions, be an active listener, and be open to feedback, even when it's on some of those uncomfortable conversations. Also, I would say be invisible and being approachable. You want to make sure that as a leader that you're available for anybody that you're coaching, and you're approachable. Last thing you want to do is have somebody that don't even want to come to you, right? They don't want to ask you for advice or ask for help. So that could be a huge detriment. And on that same mindset, one thing that really helped me is own mistakes and share the credit, again, because we win as a team, right? So even when things go wrong, just take responsibility for them. That's a great way to learn. And lastly, I would probably, I guess I'd probably do two more out there. I'd probably prioritize people over processes, basically saying processes matter, but people drive results. As an example, you want to have a high performing team will be your greatest asset. I learned that a long time ago, and I had yet to forget that. As an example on that, I've learned and read several books and seen different things talk about this. Is you can have a team of 2 draft horses that can pull 32,000 pounds, which is actually 4 times the weight of what either one of the horses can do alone. So basically, just digging into that concept that. It highlights the importance of a coordinated effort, right? Achieving success through a team. And lastly, the one I probably struggle with the most, but I know it's something you need to have, is make decisions with data and your heart. I'm a very analytical person. I go by the data, but I've got to make sure that you use your heart and use the human aspect of it, because again, you can use data to guide your decisions, but don't ignore the institution of the human aspect of it, because again, that's when it all comes down to it. You can drive the metrics to make more money, but there is the human side of it, and there's people on the other end of that data. So I think balancing that logic with empathy, if you will, I would say is probably one of the last things I would probably give somebody as advice as a leader, that you can help advance your career.
He's not only a leader, folks, he's a great person. And Gary, thank you so much for going over these concepts with us today and what makes you a great leader, but also giving that advice to others to kind of help them in their career as well. And I can't thank you enough, Gary, for joining us here today.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Josh.
Hey, no problem at all, Gary. One thing that Gary did leave out there is that he's also a great hustler on the golf course, and I can attest to that.
Well, I don't want to leave our listeners with the word hustle, but that is probably true. You're probably right. You can't go out and do golf without hustling. So that's probably part of it. That's probably true. So, but it's if anybody out there of our listeners want to go out and play around the golf, hit us up.
Yep, definitely. So I shouldn't say hustler more than just a great golfer, but that knows he's a great golfer. No, I'm just kidding. Great. Gary's an awesome guy. He's a great guy to play golf with. Not only to play golf with, but a great guy to hang out with. And Gary, I do appreciate you started giving this advice today and helping our listeners out there in their own kind of leadership roles and struggles. And Gary, just thank you so much, sir.
Thank you again. Thank you so much for having me on, Josh.
No problem at all, Gary. Again, thank you all for joining us on another edition of the BIS podcast. We've been broadcasting live on the Marvin Network. For Gary Melendez, I'm Josh Green saying until next time, so long and goodbye.